Now, the South African Democratic Teachers Union has blasted government's proposal to resume schooling next week. It says no school will open until all concerns have been addressed. The union is demanding that schools be disinfected, proper infrastructure be made available, and social distancing takes place in schools. SATU has also warned about the size of classrooms and says those should be reduced and for soap and sanitizers to be provided to pupils. It's also calling on the health department to conduct inspections to ensure proper measures are put in place. And certainly, reading more of SATU's statement, they're also saying that there should be no reopening of schools under stage 4 of the lockdown. So we're expecting to hear from the Basic Education Minister and the Higher Education Minister sometime tomorrow. And so perhaps they'll be able to provide more clarity on that briefing that we saw before Parliament earlier today. Well, let's stay with education matters then. The National Association of School Governing Bodies is echoing concerns raised by the teacher union. It says it doesn't support the draft proposal on the opening of schools until there's a concrete plan to address safety arising from COVID-19. Let's discuss this further. We're joined by the organization's General Secretary, Matakanye. Good evening and thank you so much for your time, sir. Firstly, perhaps just your initial impressions from that briefing that was given earlier to Parliament that, of course, is talking about a tentative plan, but do you think enough work has been done by the department to confidently reopen schools even as early as next week?
Thank you very much, Kathy, and all your listeners. We firstly welcome the plan because it shows that the department is hard at work. However, then the plan will not work in these circumstances under phase step number 4 because phase 4 has got lots and lots of restrictions. So when you look at the plan undermines all those restrictions. Like, for instance, the question of social distancing, you know how oversubscribed are our schools. You look at the washing of hands, then you know some of the schools do not even have running water. And again, the question of monitoring of these children. Really, teachers cannot do it. Then we feel that there must be a workforce that is now placed in schools to ensure that now there is discipline, there is also monitoring of the children so that they don't contract one another. The question of the masks, then we must also have a firm position that now those masks will be monitored and these children will not really run around without the mask. Also, the question of transport, they must also address the question of transport. It's contradictory to the Department of Transport that now the transport must only carry 70%. Now you'll find that now then these children that are carried in the bus, then they will not be able to make a 70%, they will be out of 70%, but then it means they undermine the regulation of 70%. And we're saying if the 70% who is now the 30% that will remain, that creates a terrible, terrible confusion. And hence we are saying this plan will not work now. They must go back and plan and address all those concerns that we have raised with them. Then that. And also, before I really go off, there's a question of the poorest of the poor, the working class. The children that are coming from quintile 4, quintile 5, since we closed, they've been having school at home. Then these children of the working class, the children of poor, they don't really have anything to do with this online. In some areas, there's no electricity. In the areas where there are electricity, there's no money to buy data and all those things. These are the problems that we want also the department to look at and see how do we also help the poorest of the poor, the working class. Very, very important before they can start implementing that plan.
Of course, course, when one looks at the response that you as a governing body association has to this proposal, and we take into account the statement coming out of SATU, we must question the extent to which you as important stakeholders were consulted. Were you able to give feedback on the plan, and are you surprised that in its current state it made its way before Parliament?
We met the minister on the 26th, that was on a Sunday. We raised this very concern. And you remember that the minister supposed to have addressed the media yesterday, and she could not, because I believe she's a very listening minister. Then she could not address the nation yesterday, because we raised those critical areas to say, Minister, this thing will not fly out if you don't address all these concerns that you are raising. Because no parent will allow to release his or a child to school under these very conditions, you know. So we raised all these matters with the minister on Sunday.
Sure. So then, in as far as the announcement tomorrow goes, will it be enough for the minister to say that we've heard your concerns, this is how we're going to address them, or should it simply be a case of, as long as we're on stage 4, you yourself as governing bodies are simply not going to agree with the reopening of schools?
We believe and still hope that the minister is a listening minister. Really and truly, I believe she will consider all what we have raised. You know, if she doesn't, it's fine. I don't think it's fine, because parents will be divided. But nevertheless, if parents are not divided, then the question of litigation, because some children will leave their homes negative, and then when they come back from school, then they will be positive. Then it's going to create a lot of problems, you know. If the department has got money to ensure that now they would defend those cases, then they can go on. But we are, because we love the department, we love the minister, we are advising her, we are advising the department, we are advising government. It is not yet time to open under this phase